student. Today I am going to discuss two topics: family of salt and types of salt. Now let us first start the family of salt. It is explaining in the page number 28 of the NCERT book class 10. In activity 2.13 of that particular page, it is explaining about the family of the salt. Now all of you know that how the salt is formed. Salt is formed by combining acid and base. I am taking one example: hydrochloric acid combined with sodium hydroxide to form sodium chloride and water. Now hydrogen from the acid and OH from the base combine to give water. Sodium from the base combined with chloride radical from the hydrochloric acid combine to form sodium chloride. That means we are coming to know that in a salt, first part will come from the base, the metal cation, and the second part will come from the acid, the non-metal anion. So here chloride ion and sodium cation combine to form sodium chloride. Now let us discuss about some of the acids, some of the salts which are giving in the activity number 2.13. So potassium sulfate, this potassium sulfate must be formed by the reaction between potassium hydroxide and sulfuric acid, because potassium from the potassium hydroxide combine with the sulfate radical to form potassium sulfate. Similar to that way, sodium sulfate is formed by sodium cation, sodium hydroxide base and sulfuric acid. Calcium sulfate is formed by the combination of calcium hydroxide and sulfuric acid. Similar to that way, magnesium sulfate is formed by magnesium hydroxide base combining with sulfuric acid. Copper sulfate, this one is little bit different. Copper oxide, in this case of copper sulfate, copper oxide will combine with sulfuric acid to form copper sulfate. In case of the sodium chloride, sodium hydroxide combined with hydrochloric acid. In case of sodium nitrate, sodium hydroxide combining with nitrate radical, so it is nitric acid, HNO3. Sodium carbonate is formed by combining sodium hydroxide and carbonic acid, H2CO3. Ammonium chloride is formed by combining ammonium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. So now these are the parent base and acid which combine together to form this particular salt. So we can easily say, after looking at the formula of the salt, that what are the parent acid and base which combine to form that particular salt. So now family. We consider the family of the salt depending on the common radical, whether it has the same metal cation or whether it has the same non-metal anion. Now let us look at this example of the salt. See first, potassium sulfate, sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, copper sulfate. All these salt has the same non-metal radical. Sulfate radical is common here. So this is one family. We can consider it to be the sulfate family, or we can say that these are the sulfate salts. If any example asks from sulfate salt, give one example of a sulfate salt, we can give any one example of this. Similar to that way, see these three: sodium chloride, sodium nitrate and sodium carbonate. These three, in these three salt, cation part is same, sodium, all are sodium salts. So these are the salts which belongs to the sodium family, sodium salts family. So if anybody asks you that give one example of a sodium salt, then we can write any one of these. Again we can group in this way: sodium chloride and the ammonium chloride. This is sodium chloride, ammonium chloride. These belongs to chloride salts, like this. So in this way we can classify the salt in the form of a family of salt. Now let us discuss about the second point, that is the type of salt. Type of salt. There are three types of salt: acidic salt, basic salt, and neutral salt. Now, what is acidic salt? All of you know that acid and base combine to form salt and water. If a strong acid combined with a weak base, we get a salt which is acidic in nature. So that is acidic salt. Acidic salt plus water. Water is common in all. Example, suppose strong acid, hydrochloric acid, combined with a weak base, ammonium hydroxide is a weak base. So when the strong acid combined with weak base, it will form ammonium chloride and water. So ammonium chloride is a acidic salt. Number one, that one. Number two, now basic salt. So if a strong base combined with a weak acid, we get basic salt and the water. Water is common. Example, strong base, example, suppose sodium hydroxide combined with carbonic acid. H2CO3 is a weak inorganic acid. Combined with carbonic acid, it forms sodium carbonate and water. So this is the example of basic salt. Number three, neutral salt are formed by combining strong base and a strong acid. So it will form neutral salt and the water. Example, strong base, example, sodium hydroxide combined with a strong acid, hydrochloric acid, it will give sodium chloride. The common salt, which is the edible salt, is a neutral salt. All of you know this is the example of neutral salt. Now, one more. If you take a weak acid, allow it to react with a weak base. Now, what will be the product? No reaction. There will be no reaction. There is no reaction between weak acid and weak base. Thank you very much.